Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to replace the screen on this Dell Inspiron 5402. I believe it might be the same for the 5409 as well. Anyways, we're going to be using a JIS 0 screwdriver. You might be able to get away with using a JIS PH 0 as well. So sometimes the PH and JIS the size will fit pretty similarly to where you can use them interchangeably, but the JIS one works better for computers. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and remove all these screws. This screw seems to stay in place. I'm assuming this corner is going to stay in as well. So as you unscrew it, it actually has a little washer that holds the screw into this case, and when you unscrew it, it actually creates a gap here to make it easier to pop open. Alright, anyways, we're going to continue taking all the screws out. You want to keep them all in order because they are different size, shape, and lengths, or can be. The way I do that is I put them flat side down like that on my desk in the pattern I remove them. So because these two stay here, we'll have this, and then we'll have the two like that. Okay, if this video helps you out, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment because that helps get a lot more viewers into the channel. And if you can, please consider contributing a little to the channel if it helps you save a bunch of money. And yeah, other than that, we'll continue with getting this laptop apart. Okay, so again, these two screws back here, as you unscrew them, they hold themselves in place and then it creates a gap here. So as you do that, you can see it creates a gap going along this way. So we're gonna pop this out. Okay, just working our way down. So I'm just using my fingernails. You can use pry tools. It helps to kind of push one down while you kind of pull one up. So let's see if we can get this all out. Okay, it's kind of being stubborn. Let's see if we can go down sideways instead of up there. Okay, so we're gonna work our way down this way. You can see it's popping out. Okay, and there you go. It also popped out this just by doing that. Okay, we're gonna continue going down this way as well on this side. Alright, so we're going to continue going this way, popping this up as well. Oh, it seems the screw actually popped itself back in, so we're going to unscrew this while we're kind of lifting, and there we go. Okay, I was wondering why it wasn't lifting up, and this is what the inside looks like, okay, if you're curious. Alright, you got all the little clips going all around here. Alright, we're going to set that aside for now. Alright, next thing we're going to do, we're going to disconnect the battery. It does have 2 points that connect. We are just going to disconnect this one, but if you do need to replace this battery, most likely it won't come with the cable. This cable you kind of pop up. It's like the MacBook connectors, it looks like. Yeah, so this connector, you basically go from the back of it and then you can pop it up. Make sure you're not prying out the connector here. You can see there's this part. You can see where it separates. So you don't want to pry up the part around the battery connector. You just want to pry up the battery connector. Okay, so again, we're just going to disconnect the battery for now. Let me see if I need to take it out. I think I might have to. Let's see, will a JIS 1 fit? Okay, we're going to switch over to a JIS 1 screwdriver, and we're going to go ahead and get these screws out. Okay, again, keep all the screws in order. They actually have these M2 with arrows pointing to where the screws are. So again, make sure you keep them all in order. And our main purpose of taking this thing apart is to replace the screen. They dropped something on the back of it and then that caused it to damage it. So I'll show you that in a bit, but let me go ahead and get this out. So we got 3 along the top and it looks like only 2 along the bottom. So we can lift this now. Be careful, make sure no cables are holding it in place other than this. And then we're going to use our fingernails, or you can use whatever works for you, tweezers or something. But I feel fingernails work really well for this. And then you can just use the wings and just keep wiggling it like that to pop it out. There we go. All right. Just like that. Make sure you pull it straight back, just like this, because you don't want to bend the stuff inside. All right, so this is what the battery looks like. Battery model number is right there, H5CKD, all right, H5CKD, and we're going to set that aside as well. You can see the touchpad, trackpad connector here. These kinds of connectors, you flip these latches to get them out, and then you just slide your finger over the top. All right, you want to actually like slide it over, not use like a tool to kind of like pull it back, because then you can actually, I've heard people pulling these plastic tabs out, and you don't want to do that. Right, you got the keyboard backlight connector here. This one, the tab is on this side, it's the white one, you flip that up. Then you got the keyboard connector, tab is on this side, the black one, you can flip that up to pull those out. It looks like there's a M.2 SSD slot here. There's no screw for it, so you will have to get a screw that fits it. All right, I'm not sure the exact size, but it's the standard smaller SSD screws. You might even be able to take one from the battery. Can you? Maybe? No, actually it's skinnier than that. So it's skinnier than the case screw. Yeah. So whatever the screw it uses here, it's skinnier than the case screws and the battery screws, so keep that in mind. It's a skinnier one than that. All right, I'm not sure if it supports PCIe NVMe, but I'm assuming it does. It looks like maybe that was the SSD and the customer, wait, no, because it booted up. So there's two slots for SSDs here. So there's an M.2. It looks like they put the marking 2242. I think that's for the skinnier one. I don't know. And then 2230 for an even smaller one. But they don't label what this is. This is like the full length one. I don't know what this 25331 is. That's not that. But anyways, here's the original SSD here. Also a M.2 PCIe. So this says PCIe X4, no Optane, it's SATA, and PCIe X2. I don't know what all of that means. I don't know why this is saying X4 and this is saying X2. But yeah, if you want to use this slot to upgrade the SSD, you do have to migrate this little metal bracket over. And to do that, you actually have to, so this has little metal nubs that stick up into these little holes. And then to get this metal plate out, you have to take the SSD out first. You have to lift up these two metal things so that these nubs can slide underneath, and then you lift up on the back here because there's this nub that's pushing down, as you can see how this looks, this hole here. So basically that nub is going into the hole, so you have to lift it up slightly and then you have to shove it over that way to slide it out. Okay, and yeah, so if you want to use a larger SSD, you have to migrate this over to the longer ones. All right, you got a CMOS BIOS RTC real-time clock battery, whatever you want to call it here. These are 3-volt batteries, and then if you look at it, the red wire is going to the left over here, and the black wire is going towards the fan over here. Okay, you got this I/O board over here for the USB port and the micro SD card slot, as well as the 3.5mm headphone microphone jack. All right, and that connects with this cable, which it has a little metal latch that you flip over, and then once you flip that over, you can slide that out. I don't want to mess with too much stuff in here because, again, the main thing they wanted me to check is the screen, so I don't want them to end up with other broken parts because I'm messing with stuff. All right, you got this cable going over here, which I'm not 100% sure what that's for. Let me see if I open this. We do have to do one other thing that I didn't, I think it's for the fingerprint sensor. The power button's also here. We're going to press and hold that for 15 seconds. This is actually very important to press and hold this button for 15 seconds after disconnecting the battery and unplugging it to prevent any damage to the LCD, LVDS, cable, backlight circuit, and all of that. Okay, so you can hold it for more than 15 seconds. I like to sometimes hold it for longer just to be safe. All right. Sometimes you can get away without doing that, but there's a lot more risk. So take that extra 15 seconds, do that to be safe. I've heard so many people fry their backlight circuits and stuff not doing that. All right, again, then you got the I/O board, the other end connects to the motherboard here. Fan connector here comes out just like the battery connector, same thing with the wings, you just grab, wiggle, and pull it out. CPU is here soldered to the motherboard, so you can't upgrade that. Then you got, what else? The speaker connector here. The wires, one goes to this side and the other goes to that side, obviously. All right, and then you got 2 slots for RAM. There's 2 sticks in there. Oops, let me go over here. You got 2 slots for RAM, 2 sticks in there. They're using some A data RAM. You can pull the 2 tabs away from the stick of RAM like that. It pops up. then you can pull it out. And this is 8 gigs PC4 3200 AA. So you can use any PC4 3200 AA RAM. If you want, you can use two 16 gig sticks and have 32 gigs of RAM. I don't know if they have 32 gig sticks, but if they do, you should be able to use that. All right, there we go. Okay, then you got the LCD LVDS connector right here. Same thing, there's a little metal latch that you flip up and then you can pull the connector out. And then you got this connector here for, it looks like the DC jack charge port connector here, which runs underneath the hinge. If you need to take this out, you do need to undo these two screws. What I do is I open the laptop slightly so that you can kind of get your hand in between the two layers like that. Undo the screws, and then when you slowly, carefully close it, this hinge will stay up. You can open it more. Make sure you don't end up breaking the plastic over here by opening it too far. And there's one screw holding the DC jack charge port connector in. Take that out. You can lift the charge port out and take it out. Okay, I think that's all there is to this. If you're wondering, the wireless antennas are down here, all right? And the cable runs along to the wireless card up here. The other wireless antenna is on the other side. Okay, so if you wanted to take those out for some reason, but if you're taking out the antennas, you gotta take this metal bracket out first, and then you can pop the tail of the antenna out to disconnect it. And then once you remove this, the wireless card will pop up slightly at an angle, and then you can pull it out. Same way like the SSDs and RAM pop out. If you unscrew this, the slot, you can pull the card up slightly and then pull it out, just like the RAM. Okay, so there we go. Let's go ahead now and see about opening up the screen. We're gonna zoom out here. We do need a thumbnail for this, the inside of this laptop. Okay, so we're just gonna center this here and we're gonna get a thumbnail there. Okay, let me see real quick. Okay, so let me show you what the dent, how it got damaged on the screen. You can see this giant dent here. So I'm gonna have to see if I can somehow hammer that back out. Otherwise, if I put a new screen and pressure's put on here, it's likely gonna crack very easily. Okay, we're gonna now carefully open this up. Hopefully we can get this screen out without too much work. This does seem pretty difficult to get out. It looks like there's adhesive holding on this. Some people will use heat, but I'm kind of scared to use heat on screens where the frame is plastic and not metal, because I'm worried that it will melt. But yeah, anyways, you can see like as we kind of pulled this, the clips over here kind of released, but the plastic is staying attached to the LCD. So we're probably going to have to be very careful with this. I might have to use my thin metal tool to kind of scrape the bezel away from the screen. Here you can see we created a gap here, pulling this away. Okay, and right now I'm just using my fingernails. Here you can see we popped out part of the frame here. So the way you get this to pop out is you actually want to pull the center part towards you, and we're basically rotating it. So this, the top part that's sticking out, we're actually pushing it inwards and then we're pulling it out, and that allows the clips to kind of release. Okay, now it's getting difficult to even get in between the frame and the screen. So let's see. I'm gonna try and go this way. Man, the way they designed this, it makes it so difficult to get it out. So the adhesive that's holding the LCD panel to the bezel, it's actually not really necessary. I'm going to use this thin tool to see if I can get in there. Okay, so this helps me get in there a little bit easier. Now I got my fingernail back in. Again, you can use plastic pry tools to do this. You don't have to use fingernails or whatever. Whatever works for you. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead again. I'm kind of pulling back with my left hand and then pushing down, oops, and kind of pushing inwards with my right. Okay, to undo the clips there. All right, and removing this kind of stuff does take some practice to do. it probably looks a lot easier when I'm doing it. If you try, when you're trying it, it's probably going to be very difficult. So keep that in mind. All right. Okay, I'm going to get in there and cut the adhesive. I don't know if you can hear the adhesive getting cut when I did that. Okay, and then we can go ahead and pop this out. So there you can see, okay, it's coming out a lot easier. And we're going to continue kind of releasing the adhesive from the screen. Okay, once you get some of the adhesive out, it's a lot easier. What I'm doing is I'm pinching this, and my thumb is somewhat pushing against the screen, as well as my finger pushing against the top, as I'm kind of like pulling it out like this, okay? And that's how I separate the screen from the bezel. Again, we can take all this adhesive out. It's somewhat of a stretch adhesive. I don't know if you can see this, the black adhesive strips, but this is like a stretch adhesive. So once you get some of it, you can kind of pull it more parallel along the screen and it kind of releases, okay? Again, this adhesive isn't necessary, and the chance that you're going to be able to just put it back without doing anything is very minimal. So you can just actually remove all this adhesive and it won't really cause any problems, okay? There we go. In fact, it'll actually make it easier to repair next time if you have to replace it again. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go down this side now. Okay, so somewhat same thing. I'm kind of like twisting it like that, but at the same time using my fingers to push against the screen and the outside bezel as I pull and make it look easier than it probably is for most people. You'll probably be like trying to figure out how to get it apart, but yeah. All right, we're gonna peel this out, and then we're gonna peel this out. Okay, you can hear the adhesive stretching. All right, we're gonna do the same thing on this side as well. I'm not 100% sure if we're gonna have to remove the whole screen assembly from this to be able to get to it. Hopefully not, but if we have to, we have to. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue peeling this out. Right now the screen is still somewhat visible, but there's a big crack in it, and then like more than half of it is messed up, but you can actually see the computer's turning on, so that's how we know. Also, I used an external monitor to confirm and verify that the computer is working okay. Okay, so we're just going to continue peeling this out here. Okay. And it helps to peel the adhesive up, like to pull the adhesive up as you do this to release it. There we go. The CMOS BIOS battery is kind of falling out, which is kind of weird because it's supposed to be held in with an adhesive, but I guess the adhesive let go. So there we go, stick that back in place. All right. There's like junk in here. I might need to clean it off with my electric air blower later. Go. Okay, let me use the toothbrush to scrub off the dust a little bit. It's interesting how they mount this heatsink so loosely here. It's just floating in the middle. I think some designs they put a GPU video card here so that all the heat kind of goes through here. Not really a good design if you put a powerful GPU here, because then it gets too hot and one fan's doing all the work, but that's how they designed it, it looks like. They're trying to make everything small and thin, so that's what they end up doing. All right, we're going to go ahead and continue peeling out here, and you want to be careful because a lot of times this one can peel out the tape that protects the screen circuit board, and if you do that, a lot of times you can destroy the screen. So I try and avoid having to open the screen unless absolutely necessary. And in this case, it is absolutely necessary. So there we go. We got all the adhesive released. And now we're going to see if we can pull this out. It might help to close the screen some here. And let's see, can we get this out without... We might have to actually take the whole screen assembly out. Because, yeah, that's really stuck in there. Alright, so I'm gonna, I guess let's go ahead and take out the screen assembly here. I was trying to avoid that, but it looks like it's going to be necessary. Okay, so we did again, if you're gonna mess with this cable, make sure 100% that you disconnected the battery, disconnected the power, press and held the power button for at least 15 seconds, and then we can go ahead and proceed with removing this, okay? So there's tape holding this in place. We're gonna go ahead and peel this adhesive up first. Since I do have this out, you wanna be careful. All right, then we're going to flip this latch up here, okay? And then I use the bottom of I use my fingernails towards the bottom of these little flip latches where it's closer to the connector, and then I push it to pull the connector out, just like that. Okay, nice and easy. Let's go ahead and zoom out again. It looks like I might not have had to remove that. It might be these clips are what's preventing me from taking it out. I should probably check that first. So I'm going to use my fingernails in these gaps to pop these clips out. And let's actually check that first, because maybe you might not have had to. Oh no, I'm pretty sure you do. Okay, we're going to take the whole screen assembly out. Okay, after removing the connector, what we're going to do, we're going to open the laptop all the way. I'm hanging the screen off the edge of my desk like this. Let me zoom out more. Okay, so we'll hang the screen off the edge of the desk, and then we're going to take the screws out that are holding the hinges in place. Okay, make sure you're using the right size screwdriver. Okay, this is the JIS 1. All right, we're going to remove these 2 screws on the corners here. Make sure you keep them in order. Again, they are different size, shape, and lengths. These screws are thicker than the other ones, so you don't want to mix them up and try and put them in the wrong spots. All right, then on this one, you also have 2 screws here. Be very careful with opening and closing the laptop when it's like this, because there's less leverage holding the hinges in place. And if you're not careful, you can actually break the plastic mounts that hold it together. All right, so there we go. We got those 2 screws. So these 2 screws up here, and then these 2 more spread out. Once you've done that, we can go ahead and lift the screen assembly out. So here we go. We're gonna now set this aside. We don't need to work on it now. Okay, so here you can see they have this. Okay, so this is part of the bezel, it does seem like. All right, but we do have to take this whole thing out. So we're gonna lift this up like this. Again, undo the adhesive, and then we can kind of wiggle this and get this out. So there we go. All right, and you can actually see the adhesive here. If you want, you can leave it there because it stayed completely flat. It didn't stretch or anything. So we're gonna just leave that there. Okay, as for the screen now, it looks like there's 2 stretch adhesive strips that we need to remove to get the screen out. And then after that, we're just going to have to reassemble everything with a new screen. I don't have the new screen right now. I'm taking this out to make sure I get the right model number of the screen. Sometimes people will just use the model of the laptop, but I don't really trust that. It's always better to use the model of the screen itself. Let me make sure these screws are nice and tight. Okay, if these screws are kind of loose, as you can see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some thread locker here. I have this Loctite 262 thread locker. All right. It holds a lot better than the blue stuff. It's not permanent. Other people think it's permanent. They do use some blue thread locker from factory, but as you saw, it came loose. And when these things come loose, at first you just feel your screen is wobbly. But then over time, as you keep using it, that looseness is going to make it so it doesn't hold onto the plastic properly, and then it will actually rip the hinges out of the screen assembly. So you actually want to put better thread locker in there, okay, to prevent these from coming out. At the very least, you want to tighten them down, tighten them down really well. If you don't have thread locker, it's not as good of an option. But you can put tape running across these to kind of stick them together so that they can't twist around as easily. But usually the twisting motion is very slight and very slow. So tape isn't very good at stopping that from happening. Anyways, let me get this last screw in, and I have someone calling, so I'm going to have to pause the video for now, and then I'll be back. All right, so we got those 3. We're going to do these 3 when I get back. All right, see you guys in a bit. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead now and again replace these or add the better thread locker to these screws. Let me actually zoom in a little bit for you guys to see this better. Okay, so we got that. We got the screw. There's a little bit of the blue thread locker. We're just going to add a tiny bit of the red stuff. Oop. Okay, if you get the stuff on the outside, it kind of pumped out and then went on the outside of the screw. We're going to wipe that off because this stuff kind of like eats into plastic. So you don't want this stuff going all in the plastic, all right? You want it only in the metal surfaces. So keep that in mind, all right? So we clean that off and we're going to put this again. Again, you just want a tiny bit on the metal surface, just like that. Okay, then we're going to screw that in. All right, this one out. Looks like there's a tiny magnet right there. I'm pretty sure that's a magnet. Yeah, just wanted to make sure. So there's a tiny magnet there, and that's what triggers the lid close action. The computer can basically detect when the screen is closed using that magnet. Okay. All right, that one. And one more screw. So I like to redo the thread locker stuff here because these hinges, these new designs, the bezels are too thin and they make this, the way they're mounted, very thin, so there's not really much leverage, and because of that, these screens, the hinge areas tend to break pretty easily. Right, anyways, we're done with that, so let's zoom out now. What we're gonna do now, we're gonna pull these stretch adhesives out. You wanna actually pull these straight back, so I'm gonna pull on it like this, and the problem is this hinge and stuff is in the way, so yeah, it might be tough. We're gonna slowly, carefully pull this back. It might have been better if I actually took the hinge out, but let's see. All right, so we're gonna pull on it just like this, straight back, okay? You don't wanna try and pull it too much at an angle. You're trying to keep it as flat as possible. And then you just keep pulling on this, and you wanna go slow, because if you go too fast, you're gonna end up tearing that. So try and grab as close as you can to the edge of it, and then go ahead and slowly pull on it. Okay, if it feels like it's stuck, just hold it there and hopefully it will continue to slide out. All right, so as you pull, keep holding it back like that, then grab closer here. You can let this stretch back in and then continue pulling just like this. Also, you don't technically need to reuse this type of adhesive. You can put less of a not as strong adhesive if you want. It doesn't really need to hold the screen that strong. All right, but anyways, usually I try and reuse the adhesive if I can. So continue pulling. Then we'll let it stretch back in. Okay, also this adhesive, be careful not to let it stick to itself if you plan to reuse it, because it does stick to itself really strong and it's almost impossible to untangle it. So yeah, if you want to reuse it, try and avoid it sticking to itself. All right, so there we go. Now we're gonna pull on this a little more. And while I'm pulling this, I'm kind of holding closer to here a little bit to try and catch it. Oh, I couldn't catch it in time, but there we go. Okay, and then also it leaves some, as you stretch it, usually it will be a little longer than usual, so you can cut off the excess. This one, it kind of wrapped up on itself a bit. I was able to kind of get it to release. We'll see if we can get all of it to release. You can see it's kind of crimping on itself. So if you can't, again, if you can't completely flatten it out, then you can just cut that excess off. It's not really necessary to have it 100% the full length. It looks like it just keeps rolling on itself. So I'm actually going to cut that excess off, okay? Or that bit off. All right, so we're going to cut it like this. Since it's kind of crimped at an angle, we can also just cut it at that angle to cut that off like this. Okay, so there we go. We have the stretch adhesive like that. So I'm gonna stick this to hang somewhere so it doesn't roll up on itself if I can. Okay, and that little plastic piece that's supposed to prevent it from sticking on stuff, it's kind of got messed up, so I'm going to try and readjust it a little bit. Okay. Sorry, I'm kind of doing that off camera, but all right, we're going to do the same thing with the other side. Okay, so we're going to grab this and same thing, just pull it straight back slowly, very carefully. All right, you don't want to pull too quick, again, otherwise it can just tear, and then you're going to have a really hard time getting the LCD panel out. Okay, so we're just pulling on this. It's really hard for you to see in camera what's happening, but basically it's just stretching. I guess you can hear it now. Okay, and now I'm going to grab closer here, and then I'm going to continue pulling. Okay, get my hand there to grab it. Stretch back inwards, and then continue. Grab in there again, and there we go. Okay, I guess this piece likes to kind of all wrap up on itself afterwards at the end. So yeah, we're gonna have to cut this one off as well. Okay. Hold this, and we're basically just gonna cut up this way. Okay. Toss that excess, and here we go. Alright, so here's what we got. The other one, this one kind of stuck a little to itself. Let's see. Okay, there we go. It unstuck. And we're just going to stick that out of the way. Okay, now that we got those two strips out, we should be able to remove the LCD panel, I hope. Sometimes they hide a strip up going sideways, but let's see. Okay, so I'm getting underneath here. And yeah, the LCD panel is coming out nice and easy. So this is how it goes, just like this. Okay, and then you have this screen cable here. The screen model number is right there. Let me see if I can show you this. LP140WFA SPF2 in parentheses. So here you can see. Let me actually zoom in a bit, and then we're gonna disconnect this screen for you guys. Okay, so here you go. There's the screen model number, LP140WFA SPF2. Again, it's best to check your own screen to see if there's anything different, because sometimes the screens, your model might be the same, but they might use a different screen, and trying to use a different one might cause some problems. So I always like to check my own screen to make sure I get the right part, but some people don't want to take the laptop apart and then leave it all apart for a long time before putting it back together. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and peel this off. So basically, like the other side, we're going to peel this adhesive up and then flip the little latch and pull that connector out. This screen is broken, so we're going to take this out and we're going to swap it over. So, all right, so peel it up just like that. And then I'm going to use my fingernail to flip that latch up. And then just like before, we're going to use our fingernail to pull that connector out. There we go. And now we have the LCD thing separate. If you need the LCD cable, LVDS cable, for some reason, I don't know if anyone's going to actually need that, but let's see if you can see that. I'm not going to read it off because it's so hard for me to see this, but there you go. There's the PN part number. You can pause and you can get that. And then the other side has this information. I don't know if it's the same, but this is the other side of the cable. Okay, we're gonna set that aside. Here we have the screen, and you can actually see where the adhesive would go on here. So, very simple, straightforward. When you're putting this thing back together, let me see, I should have actually paid a little bit closer attention to where it was going because I wasn't really looking, but if I remember, if I know correctly, I think the adhesive goes on these plastic bits. you'll have to see where the black part comes out, but I'm pretty sure it's the plastic part here, because if you put it in here, yeah, it's gonna, I remember I was pulling it straight back through this spot. So the adhesive strip goes through here on both sides. Then you would plug the connector back in. So you would basically do it again like this. It's a little bit tricky. You might have to have someone help you hold this up, but basically reconnect the connector while it's up like this, okay? Or you can somehow, like, I don't know, do it like that. It's kind of difficult because once you put this back down, the adhesive is going to stick. If you want, you can attach the connector first, and then you can hold the screen up like this and then get the adhesive in place. I feel it's more difficult to do that. It's easier to just put the adhesive on here right now, like that. But I'm not going to be putting this back together right now because I do need to wait for the screen. This part is dented, so I'm gonna see if I can somehow undent it. Problem is it's right over the cable here, so that's not a good spot for it to be dented. What I can do that might help, so the dent is going like right on this cable. That's very unfortunate. What I can do, which might help and prevent it from damaging that cable, is to use a popsicle stick like this and then hit it with a hammer. So let me go get a hammer and I'll be back. I'm also going to check the screen model number and stuff, and yeah. Alright, so give me a second, I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. I got a hammer. We're gonna try and bend this thing back here. I need to find where exactly the dent is. Yeah, it's like right on this. So hopefully this will pad it enough. We're going to use that. And just try and hammer it back out a little. And helped a little, but not that much. The other thing I can do, which might help, is I'll take 2 popsicle sticks. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them side by side around the dent here. Okay, I'm going to tape them there, and that way when I use the hammer to hit it, it's going to hit in between that and push it back out, hopefully. At least that's the idea. Okay, so we're going to get 2 pieces of tape here. I guess I'll cut 1 piece of tape like this, and then we'll just cut it in half down the middle. Okay. And then I'm going to actually fold a tab in here so it's easier to take it back out. Okay, so I folded a release tab there. I'm going to stick that together just like this. And then we're going to do that. Fold another tab there. And we'll stick that on like that. Alright, let's go ahead and see how can we do this. So I'm going to get that there. And then we're going to hammer this again. Let's see if that helped at all. It looks flatter. Okay, it's good. It's pushing it out the right direction. As you can see, now it's bowing out the opposite way, which is good because we don't want a spot pushing into the screen. So now I'm going to move this and hit a little bit lower. Okay, and I think we are good. I think I actually bent it out a little more than before, but that's okay. That will prevent it from pushing into the screen for sure. Okay, so we got that. I'll set those aside. Here you can see the dent. It's going outwards now. If you want, you can actually try and bend it back a little bit. This material is somewhat bendable, malleable. So yeah, we were able to kind of bend it back in a little. There's no way to make it completely flat and smooth, I don't think. It made stress marks from the bending of the metal back and forth. But yeah, there's not really much you can do. We just got to get the dent out as much as possible. If they want to hide the color change from the stresses, then basically they would need to use some sticker or something, or just a regular cover. All right, so the main goal is just to get that dent out, so that way you don't have pressure pushing into the back of the screen anymore, and we're good. They also have this foam here, so yeah, it's pretty crazy that they just happen to hit it right where the cable is. Anyways, we're gonna now have to wait for the screen. I'm not gonna make you guys wait for a part 2, so I'm actually gonna just stitch the video together. You're probably gonna wonder why I'm even saying that, because you're just gonna see it skip to putting the screen in. But anyways, if I don't end up putting the screen in, it's because the customer needs it within 3-4 days. And if I can't get the part in time, then it's just gonna end up having to be put back together with the broken screen. I guess I can show that on video as well. Anyways, I'll see you guys then. Bye. Alright, so the customer needed it back earlier than I could get the parts, so we're just going to reassemble it now, okay? So we have the bezel here, we'll set that aside. We have the screen, okay, and then this. So let's go ahead and put the adhesive back here. Okay. So again, we have this piece here. We're gonna put the adhesive back. Hopefully it will be reusable. Let's see here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna get this strip here. Okay. I don't think it really matters too much how you put this on, like laying here, but let's go ahead and try and get it all on the plastic side here. Okay, so we're just gonna stick it on this. Oh, actually, they have little indentations that kind of help you guide it. So I believe it's supposed to go all up this direction. Okay, just like that. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, there's this little groove here and here, here and here, and here and here, and that's supposed to, I think, guide the, like, where you want the adhesive. Okay, so get this one, same thing, this piece. Hard part is just holding it in place. Okay, then we'll stick that on there. All right, there we go. Then we're gonna go ahead and get this reconnected. All right, again, this is the tricky part. Let's see if we can get this done. Might help to have someone help you hold this up. I don't have someone here to help me hold this up, so I'm gonna have to just try and do this the best I can. Okay, let's see here. Maybe if I do it this way, but then I'm not gonna be able to show it on camera very well. Let's see here. So tilt this, get that lined up. Okay. Yeah, that's gonna be tough. I might have to undo the adhesive here somewhat, but that's very difficult. Let's see, how can I do this without someone helping me hold this? Okay. Yeah, this is very tough here. How do I do it? I gotta like angle it just right. It's not even gonna be visible on camera what I'm doing. Let me see if this will help, if I can use this to help. Okay, using a phone stand. And that kind of helps. Kinda, not really, somewhat. Yeah, no, that's gonna be... I don't know how I'm gonna do this, guys. This kind of works. Okay. Okay, get that in, line it up, and pull it into place. I think that's good. Alright, sorry, my head's probably getting in the way. Get that out of the way. Oops, I stuck it back to the adhesive. Okay, there we go. And you gotta be careful again, because you don't want to accidentally stick it to the adhesive while you're trying to get this in and don't have it reconnected all the way. I think it'll help if I twist these hinges a little bit. to kind of angle them differently. But again, now you guys won't be able to see, I think. Right, so we're going to use the little latch to help pull that in, and then click that into place. You can also use the adhesive to help kind of pull it in. And then just make sure that metal latch goes back over completely. Okay, clicks into place, and then you can go ahead and put the adhesive back on. There we go. Then we'll carefully rotate this back down. Make sure the top gets lined up in place before you stick it down. So I'm actually going to get the top lined up first. Up here, make sure it goes into these yellow rubber things, and then drop it in. And there we go. And then you can go ahead and push it all together. We have these parts sticking out. We'll take this, get that lined back up. Okay, make sure these have to go underneath the hinges, obviously. Okay, and then clip that in. Clip all this down area, and then click these back into place. There we go. Perfect. All right, now we gotta go around the edges and click all of that back in. Go slow here. You don't want to try and force it in. I kind of have an idea of how to get these in, so where these clips are, I'm kind of rolling it into place with my thumb as I push it and make it look a lot easier. If you don't know what you're doing, it's going to be a little bit tricky, but there we go. Okay, screen is reassembled just like that. We'll take the computer again. Now we're going to have to hang it off the edge of our desk just like the last time. Okay, let me zoom out a tiny bit for you guys so you can kind of see better. All right, get this junk out of the way. Make sure this cable is going on top. All right, you don't want it to get trapped underneath. Then we'll lower the hinge into place. Oop, we have to pull this a little away from the desk. Okay, so we got that back in. Now we're going to get these 4 screws back on. If you want, you can add a tiny bit of thread locker here to help hold this in place. So we're going to just put a tiny bit. All right, I'm going to do this away from the computer. I don't want to accidentally drip the stuff on it. Okay, we just get a little bit on there and get that screw in. Okay, there we go. We're gonna get the other one. Same thing, just a little bit. There we go. Go. This. There we go. Make sure you get it in the right spot. Okay, so we got all the hinge screws back in. We're gonna hold onto the hinges with our thumbs as we lay the screen down and close this up. I forgot about the battery. Okay. So now that we got everything back in, make sure to reconnect the LCD LVDS connector. Let me zoom in here. Okay, so this connector needs to go back in. Make sure you don't reconnect the battery until you get all these connectors back in, right? Pull the tabs back in all the way, push that latch down, and then put this tape back into place. All right. And then you can also push this cable back into this little plastic groove area that's kind of holding this cable a little bit. All right, just like this. I don't know if this is even holding anything. Does the cable get in there? There we go. Okay, sorry if you didn't see that, but I just tucked that stuff in there. Okay, let's go ahead and zoom back out. We're gonna get the battery back in. Oops, sorry, let me mute my phone real quick. Alright, then we're going to get this. And then you want to line up the battery connector back into place. Make sure you're not putting the battery connector upside down. You want the exposed pin parts facing up. Alright, and then we're going to pinch that into place. Line up the battery. And then we're going to get the screws back in. Okay. So again, we're going to switch back over to the JIS 0 screwdriver. And we're just going to get these screws back on. Okay. All right, get all 5 of them in. And then we're going to get the bottom cover. And that's pretty much all there is to this. Hopefully this video helped you guys out. If it did, again, please make sure to like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. And also comment on the video because it does help with the YouTube algorithm so that it recommends the video to others. If it helps you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. Other than that, that's pretty much all there is to this. You're welcome to stay as I get all the rest of the screws back in. We put the bottom cover back on. We're going to clip these back in, okay? So you kind of just press on it down to make sure everything clips back into place. Okay, just like that. And then we'll screw these back into place. And yeah, again, that's pretty much all there is to it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Alright, let's get all these screws back in. Okay. Did I switch the screws around here? I might have switched the screws around. Yeah, I put the screws for the case for the battery. Whoops. Alright, I'm gonna pop this back off real quick. And then we're gonna switch the screws. Okay, whoops. They use the same many screws, so I got confused. Alright, luckily these screws are about the same size. They are slightly longer, so hopefully that didn't cause any problems. Like I was saying, it can cause problems if the screws are too long. But it seems like there's nothing underneath where the screws go, so should be okay. Hopefully, we'll check when we open it up and make sure nothing looks weird. And then we should be good to go. Alright, let's get these battery screws in the right ones now. At least I'm pretty sure I mixed them up, right? These are... Get in there. Okay. I need to switch back to the JIS 1 screwdriver. Okay. Sorry about that. Alright, there we go. Alright, now let's get the bottom cover on and switch to the JIS 0 screwdriver again. Okay, get all these clips back in. Okay, just like that. Perfect. Alright. There we go. Go. Alright, and let's get the final screws in. Sorry for that confusion. Alright. Alright, last 2 screws. Gotta make sure it turns on as well. Sometimes after disconnecting the battery, you have to plug it in to turn it back on. But we'll see in this case if that's the same. Again, we still have the broken screen, so we just got rid of that dent there, but their screen is cracked, so it's still gonna be messed up. Okay, keyboard lights on. And yep, the screen's still broken. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Let's drop this. Bye.